Hey everybody, what's going on? Dace here. I'm just gonna put the glass lid on that little jar. Oh, wow. Well, first off, how is everybody doing? Oh, it's Sunday, and I have the place to myself for a short period of time, so we are just gonna get right into things. But yeah, it's a beautiful day out. I have this wonderful warm coffee that I'm very excited to just be sipping away at while we chat. I did have another topic lined up, which I had recorded, but at the end, I wasn't super satisfied with it. Sometimes too many things get introduced into the chat and it just gets convoluted and messy and all that kind of stuff. So I decided to just do this one instead and rethink my approach to the other stuff. But anyway, today we're going to be talking about observation. And I think in ways we all observe things in games without meaning to, and that obviously contributes to getting better at the games, figuring out how to do things, all that kind of stuff. But I think one thing that has been coming to mind more and more the last number of weeks is just how vital it is, how important it is to kind of place that at the forefront. And I just have a few notes that I'm going to go over just to make sure that I cover everything, because I don't want to forget anything. But yeah, that's kind of just what this is going to be about, is just how much you can unlock simply by observing things. And it kind of frees up a lot of your mental resources as well, which I'm finding to be the case, or at least my personal experience, the more I explore this idea. So some of you may have heard me mention before, I gotta sip this coffee, otherwise it's all a lie. Just shmups and no coffee, that's not happening. So when I think about how simple it is to know what you need to do compared to actually doing it, those things are very, very different. Sometimes going into a situation, whether it's a specific pattern or a whole fight or a whole stage, like a boss fight or a whole stage or whatever, we can think that, like, oh, okay, we know we have the skills, so we can just brute force our way, or we can just, if we fumbled and we get a game over, we can just go back and we'll do it better next time. And I think what the issue with that kind of approach is, we're doing a disservice to ourselves, or at least, like, when I say we, I mean like myself. Like, I don't want to go down this kind of path or allow certain things to become a habit, but sometimes it's just easier for me to say we. But when I think about that kind of approach, it can be very exhausting, because you think, like, oh, okay, like, yeah, I've polished off these other games, this is nothing crazy, so I can just go at it again and again until I get it. And I think this is where observation really saves the day, because first off, I just had to stop. There were some loud noises outside of the door. Where was I? Perfect time to sip the coffee, that's for sure. Well, yeah, okay, so maybe I'll just start in with everything observation does, or at least the things that I have thought of so far. So first off, it unlocks information. There have been countless times over the last few weeks where I've seen direct examples that have just really solidified this idea in my mind, and which is why I'm harnessing more of this, like doing it more consciously. I've been playing Danmaku Unlimited 3 quite a bit, and I've noticed that when I'm not being observant, it's easy for me to think, okay, I'll do better next time. I'll just pay more attention to this, and this, or whatever, or I'll just dodge more. But that's what leads to things feeling more exhausting in the long run, because when we're not just observing and finding little details here and there that kind of simplify what actually needs to be done or how to do it, then more and more energy, more and more time, more and more focus goes on just dodging. It's like, oh, I have to dodge more. I have to pay more attention to the bullets now. Like, how often do you hyper focus on the bullets as opposed to the free space on the screen? I think we're all guilty of doing that at one point or another, where we pay so much attention to what's coming at us instead of just zeroing in on pockets of safety. And I think that's where observation can really be a transformative force in our progression in any given game, and just in terms of progressing as a player. Just allowing that kind of the observational skills, allowing those to grow and develop and just get better and better, so that we can piece things together more efficiently and faster going forward. So it unlocks information. It's certainly, like I said, without observation, you are, or at least I find myself, it's easy to fall into that loop of thinking you just have to dodge more or play better. But it's like, well, what does that mean? What does playing better mean? If you don't actually have a game plan because you're not observing things, you're likely to just stay in that loop where you think you're going to do something better next time or make it through, but you're not really doing anything else differently the next time it happens. So the same thing is just going to keep tripping you up. So by being observant, we reduce the amount of focus that was being placed on dodging, or like all this extra movement of your ship or your character or whatever it is you're controlling. Because there have been oodles of times where, like, here's the thing, if there's one thing I've noticed in a lot of shmups and bullet hell, like STGs and bullet hells, I just refer to all of them as shmups in general, just to keep things simple. For the most part, you always need to move less than you think. There is usually a very simple way to just 1 or 2 movements and you've just dealt with the whole pattern or whatever. Obviously that's a generalization, but I'm sure you get the idea that, like, it's not about flailing around, excessive movement, and all of that. There is usually, you can just do a lot less of that and be fine. You'll actually be playing better if you aren't just going crazy. And I think that's another powerful thing when we take the time to observe and just piece together all these little details. It kind of creates just a simplified way to make it through unscathed, or at least without using as many bombs or hyper modes or losing lives, all that kind of stuff. Another thing too, and this came to mind recently. Because I'm in the process of acquiring the Japanese language. So part of my time is study, part of my time is immersion. And if there's one thing I've noticed that really inspires me or has me feeling engaged, it's the times where I notice something, I observe something in the language I'm listening to, and I think to myself, why is it working like that? And I think those moments when we have observed something we don't understand, or we're looking for, like, we're scanning the material for some clue as to how to improve or how to make sense of it, that's when a game really feels engaging, or whatever it is you're applying yourself to, whether it's a language or any other kind of pursuit. And that's a really, really incredible force to be tapping into, because I think when we are inspired, when we feel engaged, and we feel a part of something, that's when real growth is just like flowing in. That's when our brains are really working at figuring things out, piecing stuff together, and that's where like the real results come from, in my opinion. It's not from, or at least in my experience, it's not from just thinking, oh yeah, we can do this, so we're just going to brute force it 100 times. It's like, where is that really going to get us if we're not paying attention to what's going on and looking for the little clues that will pave the way or simplify the process? So yeah, just in a nutshell, I think being observant, making observations is one of the most direct ways in which I can progress or make sense of something that just seems chaotic. Here's an example. I've known about this for quite some time, but I think it fits nicely because I am playing Danmaku Unlimited 3 again now. I don't recall which boss fight it is, but there's a pattern where there's a laser coming down one side. There are, I think, little clusters of 3 bullets flying out like all over the place from the side of the laser, and then from the top there are strings of bullets coming down, and then groups of 2 bullets coming down on a different angle. So at first it looks totally chaotic, but I think what's really cool is if you're just being observant, you'll see that, okay, the red lasers, or the red bullets coming from the side, they're not coming across the very bottom of the screen. So if you just put yourself, and of course this may depend on what difficulty mode you're playing too, because it may change if you're in a really hard difficulty, but you can essentially hug the very bottom of the screen, and then that eliminates any need to focus on the bullets coming across. All you need to do is zigzag between the lines of bullets and the groups of 2 larger sized bullets. And so it's very, very simple, even though it looks crazy and that you would have to be flying all over the place just to dodge anything. That's not the case at all. And that's the power of making those observations. You find very, very simple ways to deal with things that look impossibly challenging. Oh, so I'm just reading over my notes, just making sure. Yeah, so I realize this is a very short one. I think that pretty much wraps up what I wanted to say, unless anything else comes to mind. Like I've said before, not all of these are going to be 20-minute episodes. Sometimes I even struggle with certain topics because I'll sit down and then 5 minutes later I'm just like, oh, is that really everything there was to it? I'm not sure. So sometimes I scrap certain ideas, but I want to get more in the habit of just allowing these to just be more and more casual instead of, falling prey to the idea that there must be something more to say on the topic, or I need to leave everyone with some sort of idea to think about when I can just let it be what it is and people can take what they want from it. I'm still getting used to doing these, to be honest. So yeah, anyway, I think that's a great place to leave off for today. And let me know what you think down below. I think another important thing too is just, getting over the idea that I have to make sure I cover everything I want, because that's what comments are for. I can always pin something, or discussions can happen, or whatever the case is, comments and all that great stuff. So anyway, thank you so much for being here. Have a stellar rest of the weekend. This might actually come out Monday, so have a great start to the week, whatever day you check this out, and we will see you next time. Take care.